been murdered. All the friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before. And the bird said nevermore.
You're listening to the Call Podcast with Brandon and Josh.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to a brand new edition of The Call. It is a Baltimore Ravens podcast where we talk anything and everything Baltimore Ravens football. Thank you all for listening to us on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Player.fm, Overcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, and YouTube. Well, as you can tell, we're doing things a little bit differently this week. We are not on Zoom. We do not have a 40-minute limit. We're hanging out at my buddy Josh's place. What's going on, man?
Live on location, man. Live.
You're the host this time around.
I am truly the host this time. We're co-hosts. We share responsibility. It's good to have you here, man.
Yeah.
Thanks for making the trip up. We've been working on some projects for the call.
That's right.
And we went to put the show together tonight, so it's good to not see you on video, but good to see you in the flesh and hanging out. Thanks for coming up. We had some dinner, broke some bread, or some pizza crust, you can say.
Some pizza crust, yeah. It wasn't no stuffed crust.
No stuffed crust,
we did not do with that.
It was thanks for the Ravens win with the partners with Papa John's. The pizza was half off. I couldn't resist that.
Yeah.
So
you're all about like the half off the app stuff. Like you knew about the chicken nuggets last year.
Remember,
you know, the Papa John's this
year. You didn't
year.
know anything about that.
I had no idea.
And it was funny, speaking of the nuggets, the girls that sit next to me, and Angela and her sister, they love the nuggets. The Ravens have this thing called Free the Nuggets, where if the opposing kicker misses a field goal, you get a free, I think, 8 or 10-piece nugget from McDonald's the following day on the app, right? So it's out Free the Nuggets. I remember the Colts game, we had I think an upgrade. Like if the kicker misses more than one in that game, they get upgraded to a 10 or 20 count or something. So I think the Colts game, I think they missed 2 field goals if I remember. It was one game where they missed 2 field goals and we had a 20-piece count the next day. Yeah. Well, the girl next to me goes, I was so drunk I usually don't even get to use the free ones because she can't remember. I said, you trip. But yeah, I know all those different. I mean, the Orioles run it too. 50, it's 50%. The Orioles score 5 more runs in a game, whether they win or lose. Ravens is with their partnership with Papa John's. Is after Ravens win, you get a pizza 50% off the next day. Yeah. It's only good for that day. So you're coming over. I said, you want some pizza? Ravens half off. Hey, I like to save some money, man. So I took you out on a coupon. So,
I like it.
I'm using coupons, man. Got to use them. Save some money where we can, cut corners. But it's good to have you here.
Yeah.
And live on location, I got my
we got Maximus.
Got my partner in crime, Maximus, sleeping on the floor. He had the zoomies a little bit ago, and he's live.
Does he have a
location
jersey?
too.
Do you have a jersey for him?
I don't.
Come on.
I don't.
Come on.
I don't.
I got to get Finn a new one. He did have a Hollywood Brown one.
He did?
Yeah.
We'll see how that turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Give him a Ray Lewis. I mean, he's got a statue. He ain't going nowhere.
Yeah. I got him, I think, like a 4T Lamar jersey, but he's a big boy, so I think that was already too small for him. Like, he gets upset he wears it because, it's so tight on him.
He put on muscle like Lamar.
That's right. He did. He's all muscle. But let's talk.
Speaking of Lamar.
Yeah.
Hot topic around here.
Always.
It's like, forget the games are going on preseason-wise. It's all about the money and what's going on. I don't know. We feel like we'll lead off with that because it's a hot topic. I said some few things about it today on social media. Everybody's got an opinion about it, right? Whether it's worth the money, is he worth it? Are we going to keep him? Let him go? Is he worth it? Back and forth. No, it's a crazy conversation, man. No matter how you split it, because at the end of the day, we're all Ravens family, right? But it seems like there's sometimes it's like a topic of division. It's like and it shouldn't be. We get it. There's a sample size. He's been hurt. The whole and it all came up, of course, because of the Kyler situation. They played the Cardinals. And it seemed like it just seemed like to me that's all the commentators want to talk about, and always flashing the sidelines with Lamar and Mark Andrews. Apart from the game, I just felt like it took away from what the Ravens are trying to accomplish preseason-wise. It's a big elephant in the room. Obviously, there's a deadline. This is a unique position where Lamar is probably the first player in Ravens history, let alone I'm sure I'm sure NFL players represent themselves in the NFL. We just don't hear about it.
Right.
few far between, but the situation he's representing himself. Apparently there's been offers on the table. Whether that's reported or not, you hear conflicting reports that he wants fully guaranteed money. Who knows if that's true or not coming out of his mouth, because the Watson situation throws a wrench in all things because of, first off, Watson wasn't deserving of the contract he got anyway, let alone fully guaranteed.
Yeah.
And obviously Kyler didn't seek that. I feel like any quarterback in that position go, oh, wait, you gave a quarterback who hasn't played 2 years and last went 4-12 a fully guaranteed contract amidst legal issues. But, bro, that's the Browns. They're going to do that anyway. But what do you think, man? I mean, this is it's certainly, again, it's the hottest topic right now in Ravens.
Yeah.
To date.
I'm very happy to not be Eric DeCosta. I'll lead off with that one, because this really is Lamar is one of the greatest quarterbacks playing right now. I mean, he's already had an MVP season. He's a fantastic player. We saw what happened last year when he went down. We didn't win a game since. It's we were at the top of the AFC. Lamar went down, and then we just went on a losing streak and didn't make the playoffs. So obviously Lamar is very important to this franchise. And Tyler Huntley, who did come in, everyone says, oh, he looks just like Lamar. He acts just like Lamar. If you don't see the number on their jerseys in practice, you kind of forget who's who. Well, obviously there is a talent change there, because Lamar, when he is playing, we win. When Tyler's playing, we're not winning, even though he has looked great in this preseason. So Lamar does deserve a payday, 100%. Guaranteed money, though, for a guy who has never finished a season?
I wouldn't guarantee it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And that was Jay Glazer of Fox. I'm only going from what I heard last night on Fox, pregame-wise. If there was new information out there, Ian Rappaport was reporting from NFL Network, that apparently no one really knows. From Ian, the newest information, no one really knows what's been said or what the offer is. Apparently, there was an offer on the table, and it's kind of like now it's Lamar. You heard Bisciotti about it, remember? We've talked. We're waiting on him. So it's kind of like the he said story, right?
Yeah.
One side saying this, the other side saying this. I don't know, but, and everybody's like, why the week 1 deadline? Well, because I think Lamar don't want the contract to be a distraction from the thing. Yeah. He's concentrating on winning, which I appreciate, but – I feel like we just need to get done because it's just, again, what if he takes a team to an 8, 9, 10-0 start, and then you're like, well, now the price is going up. Yeah. Or is he pulling a Joe, betting on himself last year of the deal, go out and win it all, then what? Yeah. And he's offered a king's ransom.
And
I don't know.
I respect Joe for what he did. He went out there. He said, I can bet on myself, and he won the Super Bowl. If Lamar does the same thing, I hope history doesn't repeat itself, because in order to pay Joe, we got rid of all the toys he was playing with, and it affected his game, and he was never the same after that. Right. When the Ravens lost Anquan Bolden to pay Joe, as much money as they're just throwing around, if they're paying all the money to Lamar, you're going to have less and less talented players in other positions. You're going to have a less talented offensive line. You're going to have less targets for him to throw to. It really is the Lamar show at that point. And we saw what happened. They gave Joe all the money, and then they were going to the bargain bin at Walmart to get their wide receivers. They were drafting Perryman, which we know how that turned out. It is a slippery slope. Lamar is betting on himself. However, this is a team sport, and I hope he realizes he's been talking about a Super Bowl since we drafted him. But also, he needs the other people around him. But you also look
at the blueprint too. Packers and Chiefs. Yeah. Packers and Chiefs both paid their quarterbacks. Where did their star receivers end up? Elsewhere. Right. Because there wasn't enough money to go around. Devonta Adams was due his. Yeah. Rightfully so. He had to go get it in I almost said Oakland, Las Vegas. And Tyreek Hill went to Dolphins, who we play in week 2. So,
let's look at the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers. He made all that money, and look at Joe Flacco, who paid all that money. How many Super Bowls do they have? One each. And they got the Super Bowl before they got paid. Exactly. And everybody says Aaron Rodgers is one of the best ever. Well, he has the same amount of Super Bowls as Joe Flacco. Right. And people say Joe Flacco is not elite, but you're going to go on and on about Aaron Rodgers. They're in the same boat. Or even Josh Allen. Yeah. You can say Josh Allen's elite, but, he don't have a championship to his name. Now arguments could be made that of that draft class, Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson, respectively, best 2 quarterbacks in that draft class alone. Yeah. Obviously it's funny how
the first two quarterbacks taken in that draft are basically fighting for a roster spot in Carolina, and now Baker beat them out.
Right.
And it's talking about Sam Darnold week 1 against the Browns, at least for right now's sake. Josh Rosen's an afterthought. Allen's already gotten paid out of that draft class, first one to do so rightfully, and he's deserving of it. You can certainly, and me and you can agree, or hopefully agree, Josh Allen's an overall polished, quarterback and passer than Lamar.
Yeah.
Just because of, obviously, we understand the inconsistencies Lamar has, and then with the running game and the shelf life, and that's another thing. There's comments to the contract that, do you do the franchise tag on him and then let him walk because of his the shelf life, because of the running game. But then it's like, that's why I'm so frustrated with how things transpired last year with Dobbins, and you can't control everything with Dobbins and Edwards and Hill, but that's why I want a commitment to the running game, because it would take the pressure off Lamar having to do it. Now, if you haven't heard on this whole situation, Steve Young's comments to Lamar and the offense, he has pretty interesting things to say about basically it's not really all Lamar, maybe it's the Ravens scheme.
Right.
That's saying Steve Young's comments in a nutshell saying maybe it's pointing to the Ravens schemes of maybe they're holding Lamar back, not letting him pass more. Right. And then because of how Greg Roman's run first and how the Ravens kind of more are run Henry-centric versus passing, that if you want to see Lamar being a more polished passer, well, let's have the playbook open up for that. But it'll call allude to injuries and things like that. Now they got some up-and-coming new receiving help, and with the likes of Likely coming up now, you got Duvernay that's picked to be emerging. Bateman now the true number 1 receiver. Mark Andrews is a beast. I mean, I feel like Lamar's got the tools and trades around him to get things done. But you can sit here and talk all night long on this thing about, is he deserving of it? Of course he's deserving of it because, of what he's done. MVP season, body of work, his record, 37-12. Pretty much the Ravens have been a winning franchise since he's taken over the helm and kept that afloat. But it is a team effort. But it's no secret. It's all he was the secret to all that. And the success in the team has done a lot to build around that and that scheme. With that being said, you can argue about what's the right amount, but also the market's the bad thing. He's the last to get paid in this whole domino effect of quarterbacks and the talent pool. Kyler's contract. I don't even want to talk about the Watson contract because, obviously he's suspended. That's a whole mess in itself. You suspend a player like Calvin Ridley a whole year for betting on his own team.
Right.
We understand, and I wasn't around for it, and I have to do my research, but the whole Pete Rose thing, he bet on baseball.
Right.
Whether it was, I don't know what the bets were, but apparently, Calvin Ridley was betting for his team to win.
Right.
It wasn't like he was betting against. Still was a violation of conduct, but you suspend a player like that for 11 games with the whole domestic violence situation and how they want to handle that, and that's delicate. Yeah. And your women fan base, and even that, but even the men fan base, but any fan base for that matter. Not only that, but then you send a message like, "Oh, it's more severe to gamble, but do what Watson did, and you get 3/4 of a season." It's just again that could be a whole nother podcast in itself.
Right.
There's holes in that. We can poke holes in that policy and the way they handle and police things all night long. But for the most part, dude, this contract it's a pretty big deal, and we want Lamar to get paid. He's deserving of some money out there. We just don't know what it's going to be. We don't know what the number's going to be.
Oh yeah,
he's earned it. Obviously MVP season speaks for itself. Now, it's not, that could be a whole nother issue in itself with that price, but you're right, 2020, kind of regressing a little bit. Even 2019, starting in the 2019 playoffs, he had MVP year. 2019 was a ball, wasn't it? And then you go and lose in the division round, first overall seed. Titans come in and pretty much wreck you. Yeah, they dominated from the start. It was atrocious.
But last year,
2020,
so
they
many
got over the hump.
Come from behind wins. He kept this team in the games.
We think about the Colts game.
Yeah,
it's like. And even with schemes, okay, now you got to be down 20 points to let the ball fly, but we know he can do it.
Yeah,
he does own a single game franchise passing record. So again, it's just, we could talk about Lamar and skill sets and paid and what's deserving, but the fact remains is he's got to do better and he's got to progress, not regress or stay flatlined. You're right. I would hate to be Eric DeCosta or anybody that's involved with the Ravens books, with money and figuring out how it's going to be allocated. What's the right number? Is it going to be team friendly? Is it going to be cap friendly? Is it going to be able to retain? Because you hear all the time, like with Tom Brady, taking lesser deals to keep the talent around him.
Exactly.
And he's setting the standard. I mean, 7-time champion, the GOAT of GOATs. What better way to follow than that?
Yeah.
But the same day, these guys only have a little bit to play time, a little bit of shelf life in the league, and you hear all the time, the players got to make the most they can and cash in because this might be the only mega contract they get in their career. I mean, Lamar's already in his 5th year, believe it or not. So
right.
you figured, the way he plays and the way the league is, obviously he's not going to play as long as Tom Brady is and take care of himself, but you never know. But we'll see what happens before week 1. If it doesn't happen, it's going to gamble on himself, and it's going to come in the offseason. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens going forward and what that number is. You've heard it. Kyler's the floor, which some can definitely agree with. I agree with it because I don't think Kyler was worth that money. Man, we can talk all night about each quarterback and what they're worth and what they're not. Look, at the end of the day, I'm happy they're getting paid. It's their job. They're deserving of it. Good for them. Because I guess if me and you were in that position, I would demand the most.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know about you, but who knows? I mean, it could be about money, it could be about playing time, but the love of the game. But you don't want money to put a stain on that, I guess. Like you don't want to take away of like Lamar. Lamar's genuine. He cares about winning.
Yeah.
And that's why I think he put a week 1 deadline saying, hey, if we don't get terms done, I'm all about focusing on the season. But who knows, man? But he's just got to do better to get the most. But I think what's the number right now? And that's what everybody, I think, is on edge about because they don't know what that number truly might be or is.
And if he wasn't representing himself and taking some of that pressure off of him, we might see a deal get done midway through the season. We've seen Ronnie Stanley, for example, get a new contract midway through the season. So there are good things and bad things about representing yourself, and that week 1 deadline is kind of like a pressure that Lamar has put on himself because he doesn't have anyone representing himself or representing him. And he's going to save some scratch, because he's not going to have to pay a lawyer or whatever to look over the contracts if he's just going to do it himself. So we'll see what happens. I don't want to see Lamar leave. I think Lamar is a great talent, and I think he's a great leader for this team. I think people are really impressed with what he does. I love the way he plays. I mean, like you said, think about that Colts game. When Indy came to town, Lamar, he put the team on his back. And
that doesn't happen with backups.
No, not at all.
So that's the problem. But I mean, you can look at the 1 games, or you can look at a whole body of work.
Yeah.
Within that, it is what it is. But he's deserving of it. And,
that 2019 game in Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Lamar's. I mean, he planted a flag and said, "This is my team now."
But here's the thing. I want that in the postseason.
Yeah.
It's kind of like this. And this might sound weird, but I know what I mean when I say this. I want both Joe and Lamar in the same guy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I said this about Joe when he was playing. When I always compared him to Matt Ryan because they came out of the same draft class. Matt Ryan was great in the regular season. Had success and all that, the numbers, but Matt Ryan sucked in the postseason. Joe had that success. And as I always said, I want a Matt Ryan and Joe Flacco prototype where you have a great regular season and you turn on the postseason and go. Just like Peyton Manning and Tom Brady have all done. It's consistent all the way through the season. Lamar, it was like different. It was like great in regular season. Oh, we're balling out. We're winning games on it. But then you get to the big games, and the knock on him has always been like that. And that's what's scary is in college, he's never could win the big games. He'd always choke. Regular season was always flash, this and that, oohs and ahs, dazzling stats, wins piling up. And that's the thing. If you put Joe Flacco's postseason kind of success and marry it with Lamar's regular season success, it's call what it is. I've always thought that Joe was pedestrian at best and just did enough to get us to the playoffs with the team. Then he just turned it on. January Joe, right? Just turned it on.
Yep.
And that's what I've always said. It's like you got to be consistent. If we have 2019 MVP Lamar in the postseason, this team would have multiple championships right now.
Yeah.
And that's the unfortunate part. When 2019 happened, call it what it was. We were looking at Super Bowl trips because you're like, this team's already won 12 straight. No one's going to stop them. They're going to run wreck shot all the way through the championship. Like, no one's going to stop this juggernaut.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it since week, 4? And they lost to the Browns. No one was able to do it. And they weren't just like beating people. Lamar sat half the games in the fourth quarter.
Right.
I want to get back to that. That was domination. Never seen that.
Yeah.
And the only time I've ever thought I've seen that was when Peyton Manning was dominating with the Colts, and they would go 10, 11, 12-0 every year. And Peyton Manning always sat because they were just beating people. So, I don't know. I mean, it's going to be interesting when it comes down to see what the number is. But it's funny because it's basically going to be the number of what he's done so far in the league, not what he can do.
Right.
And that's where I think it's, I don't know. I feel like if it were me, as I want to see how it played out, I don't want him paid before week 1. I want to see what he can do this year. Because with a full healthy team, Lamar's put on muscle. He's probably more motivated than ever now.
Yeah.
And I want to see what he can do. I want it to play out just like a Joe Flacco situation. See what you do this year, bet on yourself, and then see what the Ravens do with it next year.
Yeah.
If you take us to the playoffs, and let's say you take us to a title game and lose, okay, you're on the doorstep. What's it worth? Or I don't want to ever say get the Super Bowl and lose, but it's more motivation. It's more even motivation because you saw the video of the preseason game. He was walking around Glendale because he wanted to see what it was like being back here.
Right.
Like we talked about last show. Super Bowl is being played in Arizona.
Right.
They're going to be back here. So it's that pure motivation. I don't know. I just we all want the kid to do well. We want the kid to be paid. But the problem is it's been the inconsistencies, the ups and downs.
Right.
He can, but he can't. He can, but it is what it is. We'll see what happens. And again, no matter what happens, it's out of our control. It's out of our hands. It doesn't affect you and me. We're fans. We do our podcast as we do. But in the end of the day, whether he gets paid a bootload of money, buco bucks, or gets paid Slim Jims, me and you are still rocking and rolling. But, at the end of the day, the man's well deserving of some sort of high payday. And, and let's go get it. Because, call it what it is. He's got an MVP under his belt. And if you look at his draft class, no one's got one. Yeah, Josh Allen's a better overall player, bigger, faster. Lamar's probably the best overall athlete when healthy, best player in the field. You can call it what it is, but to me, postseason wins don't matter. It doesn't. At this point, Josh Allen could have won 1 or 2 postseason games every year in his career since he got drafted, but it don't matter nothing because until you win the big one, it don't mean nothing. Because then you can. I don't want to take this that way, but then you can make an argument. Well, Brad Johnson and company better quarterback than Dan Marino because they won one and Dan Marino didn't. Jim Kelly didn't win one either.
Yeah.
So you can sit there and say, okay, if Super Bowl wins matter, then Brad Johnson and Trent Dilfer are better quarterbacks than Dan Marino and Jim Kelly. And then people are like, no, that's not true. Well, yeah, it is because you're saying postseason wins and all that matter. So if you go away to the championship, rings matter, then those quarterbacks are better. Well, no, they're not. They're not better. Yeah, they are. So it's like people want to talk, side talk. Like, no, I just don't look at the postseason wins. I look at overall body and the player they are. Okay, but I don't know. I just hate it that if you look at what's their postseason record, that don't define a legacy. I don't know because right now Mark Sanchez has more playoff wins and Lamar. You're going to say Mark Sanchez is a better quarterback than Lamar?
Right?
Absolutely not. Lamar don't have a butt fumble on his record.
Yeah.
So it's embarrassing. So that's why I'm saying like if you're going to look at playoff wins, look at all the quarterbacks that have more playoff wins right now. Lamar's got 1. Okay, 1.
Yeah.
It's a big deal. Yeah, he's still early in his career, and I hated people judging on him for it. But I don't know. I think I'm in the very small minority because I don't focus on that. I don't let that define a legacy. I don't know. I'm just weird.
This season's going to be an important one for the AFC because, yes, everyone's ultimate goal should be the Super Bowl, and if you don't make it to the Super Bowl, then that season's kind of a failure. But there are some teams rebuilding, and there are some teams trying to figure some stuff out. But for the Ravens and for the Buffalo Bills, if neither team or if your team is not in the Super Bowl, then this season was an utter failure.
Right, you can go for any team, even the Jaguars.
But for the Ravens and
Every
the Bills, this one is huge because if let's just say that Lamar doesn't get his contract by week 1 and he waits till the end of the season, if he doesn't get to the Super Bowl, his value has gone down.
Absolutely, it's gamble, man.
The Buffalo Bills were 1 coin flip away from going to the Super Bowl. If the two of those two teams, if one of them isn't in the Super Bowl, then it's a complete loss of a season. It really is. And that's not taken away from the Chiefs or any other, or the Steelers or anything like that, or the Bengals who were there last year. But the pressure is on for the Ravens and for the Buffalo Bills because they are right on that cusp of being great and being in the big game. And it's just like they're just like fingertips away, and they can't get it. They can't get there. So this one's going to be a big one this year. This is a very important season for the future of the franchise, for the future of both quarterbacks, I think. But Lamar,
that's why I'm anxious.
Yeah.
Because it's, especially with all the injuries, the guys coming back, it's like, I feel like everybody wants a redo. last year was going to be the year, and everybody just fell like flies. Like it was just doom and gloom everywhere. Big black cloud over this team. Redemption with the new pieces added. There's media out there that's saying this team right now healthy, paper Super Bowl contender all the way. Like they're going to contend, and the division's theirs with the change at the guard with quarterback in Pittsburgh. Now that we know Cleveland's starting, Brissett for 11 games. They moved on from Baker. They thought they were going to get something out of Watson. They're not going to get him till the end of the year. They could be well under 500 by then, and out of the picture, so who cares? Bengals, right now, they're the defending AFC champions, AFC North champions team to beat, but, a lot of pundits right now are still picking Baltimore to win the division, even with the Bengals, and the success they had last year. A lot of people feel like the Bengals are flash in the pan. Like, it was just a one-off anomaly. It's just hard to get back, and then now but it's going to be that much tougher for the Ravens or anybody. Now they got Russell Wilson in the AFC.
Yep.
Justin Herbert's still in the AFC. The Raiders now adding Devonta Adams. Like, that whole division's stacked. Chiefs, Allen with the Bills. There's a lot of talent in the AFC. So if the Ravens are going to make any noise, dude, they better just put their head down and trudge, man. It all starts week 1 of the Jets, and we're anxious to get there. We all know, and covering it and seeing the game unfold. But got one more preseason game to boot, but they just had their second one. So I know we had a lot to unpack during the show. Love that. But apparently Ravens have won 22 straight preseason games.
22 straight
now,
wins.
Let's start with that again before we even dive into the game. A lot of people are like, it's dumb streak, care less. Again, I still stick by my mantra. It sets a winning culture. I like that only for that reason because, and to me, it's kind of fun. It's like, I know it doesn't count, but I'm like, I don't know about you, but I'm not making any millions of dollars playing mini golf with my friends or golf with my buddies or, playing Madden online with my friends or playing video games, but we're all competitive. We want to win.
Yeah.
So I don't care if it's fake or not, or it doesn't mean anything. If it don't mean anything, then why you give a crap when you're playing golf and you're throwing clubs, or why do you give a crap when you lose at something? Everybody, it's competitive nature. You want to win, and I love the fact that they set that culture. So I'm always going to stand by that. It is what it is. But I just think they're just dumb and meaningless, and I wish they didn't have them. College football don't have preseason games, and they go right out there and the best programs start winning from day one, and they go right through the season, sometimes go undefeated. So it's all about money for the NFL. We know why they're there, but if we're up to me, I wish we didn't have them. It's not up to me, but at least they did away with one and added a regular season. So they're trying to cut them down a little bit, but for right now, we can call it what it is. 22 straight. It's a weird record to have, but the Ravens own it.
Yep.
And they beat them in Arizona.
Well, they own it. They beat the record last year. They're just building on that legacy that they have right now. But it's like Vin Diesel says in The Fast and the Furious. Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. Winning is winning.
But for me, if they lost next week to the Commanders, it wouldn't bother me. I'd be like, oh man, it got snapped. But it wouldn't I wouldn't go on a podcast and be like, bro, man, I wouldn't be.
It's not the end of the world, but
yeah.
But a W is always better than an L, no matter what.
That's my point.
Yeah.
You want to win at Monopoly at family game night. Like, you don't want to just sit here and play for nothing. Like, it's always about bragging rights. It's always about winning. And, hey, in my point of view is this in a preseason game. If it didn't really mean anything, then why did they keep and score?
Right.
There's always got to be a winner or loser. And I don't know if preseason, if one's ever gotten to a tie, but I don't think there's overtime in these preseason games. I think they do end in a tie, don't they?
I would hope.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I've never seen a. Now I'm going to have to look at that. If a preseason game is actually went to overtime or ended a tie, I don't know what the rules are for preseason, but hey, NBA has them.
Yeah.
NHL sure has preseason.
Well,
it seems like every major sport. Baseball has exhibition games, and they're like the Florida and the Orioles play exhibition. So, would you want the Orioles to lose every game and look atrocious, heading into the season? Like how I said, I like the winning streak, and people alluded to this, right? Like, oh well, the Lions went 4-0 preseason and lost all 16 games. Yeah, that's a fact. It's true. But that had no weight to carrying in. But because you was like, Josh, you talk about winning culture, but the Lions lost all 16 games. Okay.
Yeah.
And that means their backups were better than their starters. That's what that tells me.
Yeah.
It's exactly what that tells me.
Well,
So, but that's a mute point.
Every team has holes to fill, and that's what I like about these preseason games, because it gives guys that maybe were undrafted or didn't have a chance to really show off in college or whatever. It kind of shows what they can do. I mean, Justin Tucker, best kicker ever, undrafted, and we got to see what he could do in a preseason game. Like, he was fighting with Billy Cundiff for that spot. Without the preseason, would we have kept Justin Tucker? Like, I like being able to see that. Do I mind not seeing Lamar at a preseason game? Yeah, it kind of sucks, but I get it. There's other spots to fill, though. We want the best team we can.
After Dobbins last year, I don't want any starters in the preseason.
Yeah, and that brings me to this point here. So this has been huge for Isaiah Likely. We have seen him the last 2 games of what he can do. Yes, it's preseason. I have to assume he has won out that starter spot. Like, he is going to be a starter week 1. So I don't know if we're going to see him in week 3 preseason, but Isaiah Likely, he's put on a show the last 2 games. He's impressed everybody. He's been the talk of the town. He's got to be a starter week 1, right?
Has to be.
Has to be.
I mean, just listen to these numbers. I mean, last night, here's the stat line. Call it what it is. 8 catches for 100 and a touch. And if you're playing fantasy, that's 24 points.
There you go.
If you're playing a PPR, it's 24 points out of your tight end, who's probably going to be the 3rd string tight end on this team, because Boyle's going to be 2nd, but still impressive. And if you even want to take a step further, what he's done in 2 games being showcased, I hope I saved it, because if I didn't, I am a loser. Because I always take notes on the show and then I back. Oh, okay, here it is. Got it. Not a loser. Found the stats. 2 preseason games. He's at 12 targets, 12 receptions, 144 yards, 1 touchdown. That equates to 12 yards per target. He's got 5.7 yards after contact for basically the reception, and he's 5.7 yards after contact of 78 receivers with 5+ catches. He ranks 3rd in receptions in that category, 3rd in receiving yards, and number 1 in total yards after catch. And that's in 2 preseason games with limited action.
Yeah.
What, you're talking about a half of football, maybe in a quarter? The dude is a stud, and every time the Ravens played the preseason this year, the phone's been blowing up with his name in the interwebs, man. You know, Twitter's a buzz, Facebook buzz, Likely 80. I see his number, his name everywhere.
Right.
Dude's going to be a problem, and it was alluded to this, man. The Ravens' 2019 success alluded to a 3 tight end set.
Exactly.
They had Mark Andrews and Hayden Hurst as rookies, and they had Nick Boyle.
Right.
If we get back to a Mark Andrews, Nick Boyle, and Isaiah Likely in that fold with the running back and everybody healthy, this screams 2019 all over again.
Yeah.
Just on paper and what we can see. Oh, man, dude.
Yeah.
This is going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely. I'm right there with you. I do think he's our number 1, or he gets a starting spot with that.
He's got the roster spot locked. But
Yeah, absolutely.
that's no doubt. He's not on the team. Then we be having some problems, man.
Yeah.
But we have confidence in the front office. They know.
Yeah.
He's pretty much got on lock.
Now, a friend of ours, Dave, who was a loyal listener, he actually was asking us about how we were going to discuss this week. He wants to know about Tyler Huntley. He says he wants to hear our thoughts on Tyler Huntley and what the street value is for Tyler Huntley. Is he going to be too expensive to sit on the bench as a 2nd-string QB? How long do we have Huntley before we have to renegotiate his contract? So I was looking it up. We only have Huntley for another year.
Same as Lamar during the last year, okay?
Same as Lamar. So what are your thoughts on Tyler Huntley being the QB 2? Could he be a QB1 somewhere else in the league? Could he have trade value, and that the Ravens could potentially move him to maybe make some room for Lamar money? What do you think? I like Tyler Huntley a lot. I don't think he's a QB1 for at least the Ravens. Like I brought up at the end of last year in one of our shows, I said, do you think that somebody in the front office is at least entertaining the thought of, let's sit with Tyler Huntley for a year or 2 while he's cheap and then draft a QB1 down the road? Or do they go with Lamar? Obviously, I don't think Tyler Huntley is a QB1 for us, but could he be a QB1 somewhere else? Could he be a QB1 if someone were to get hurt week 1 or week 2 and they need somebody? Does he have the value to go somewhere else, maybe make the Ravens a little bit extra money since he is a backup quarterback? He has looked good in the preseason. He looked pretty good at the end of last year. Didn't come up with any wins, but overall, I mean, Tyler Huntley is a talented guy. I mean, he reminds me a lot of like when we had Tyrod Taylor behind Joe Flacco.
You must have read my mind because that's where I was going with it.
Yeah.
Like, if your first gut reaction was like, oh, well, he's a backup for a reason, he's probably not well deserving to start on most teams. But you take a step back, you see what he can do in his talent level. Yeah, he doesn't have the win-loss record and the actual success to be like generate all his buzz. Like, it ain't like Lamar went down last year and we made the playoffs with Tyler. That'd be a whole different conversation. That'd be like, oh, wait a minute, some team's going to pluck him from us. We just ended up winning like it was no tomorrow. And then obviously that could be said something about Lamar. But, you know, the Ravens would be in a tough spot too because the offense is built around him. Only certain quarterbacks can duplicate that system.
Right.
You're not going to bring in. There's a reason why they kept Tyler and let McSorley go, which obviously McSorley played him against in the preseason last night. There's a reason why they let McSorley go. McSorley don't fit the mold in that offense,
right.
That kind of offense. There's a reason why they signed an RG3 for the last 2 years. Why do you think that? Certain mold fits that body of work, right? That offense. Now, I think the Ravens would be ridiculous to let Huntley maybe explore or maybe even do a trade. I think they got to pay a little bit more for that insurance policy. It sucks to even think about that because it's like, okay, well, you're allocating more funds on a position that you might not need. But I think it's definitely a need, especially with Lamar right now, knock on wood. You want to stay healthy, but with his track record not coming off the injury, you know, with his running ability, you never know what can happen. You don't want to wish anything bad, but, you know, it's not like you got a pocket passer sitting back there. But same respect, Flacco's pocket passer got hurt too. So,
yeah,
you know, everybody gets hurt. So it don't mean nothing. You know, I think the Ravens have to retain Tyler Huntley for the purposes of what they have here and what they built, and it takes unique backup. Now, if they find a backup somewhere else who can duplicate that, I mean, they got a Brown on the roster, but haven't really seen enough of him in the flashes to. I mean, yeah, he's got a touchdown there and here and there, but you know, I think Tyler, you know, you got to keep him. It's kind of like keep him married to Lamar. You know, It's kind of like a 1-2 punch. Like, got Lamar, you got to have a backup that following in the shadows that could almost duplicate him. And a million times I always said it too, just because I was like, oh, Lamar Huntley. I mean, like you say, it looks like Lamar. If it's a uniform, sometimes you can really tell. Like, he's got the elusiveness. And like last night I saw a play. Looked like he was going to get sacked. He came around, squared his shoulders, and threw a laser down the field, and it was completion. Like, making plays looking down the field. He's got the skills and ability. But if he wants to look out elsewhere, great. The Ravens have plans for that, great. You know, let destiny be destiny. But I just think with the Ravens, what they built here, they just can't bring anybody or draft anybody.
Right.
Yeah. Again, go back to my first point. There's a reason why they signed RG3. One, because RG3 was awesome, because he can run that system. So, and that's what the Ravens are stuck with. They're handcuffed in that sense because of now they invested so much in Lamar in that offense. That's what I'm saying. They have no choice but to pay him because they ain't like going to let him walk. You've invested so much. You know, it's almost like building a whole custom house, get all the way to the end and be like, this isn't what I want. Just waste all that time.
Yeah.
Like, you commit. That's why he didn't change quarterbacks in play. You commit. He's got to stay the course. And the Ravens have come this far. They wouldn't come this far just come this far to be cliche about it. They're just not going to just drop everything and just change schemes. They're going to ride this until they can't no more. And that's why I think Tyler Huntley stays on the team. I think, you know, today's point in this question, I think you certainly look to restructure it, give him a little bit more. I don't think what's he making now? What league min was it? $700,000-800,000? Is it 1 year left? What's the terms on that? Did you look? I saw it up on the screen. Signed a 1 year $895,000 contract with Baltimore, including average salary of annual salary of $895,000. So he's making, I think, right around league min or just over the league min. I think league min was like $750,000 if I'm not mistaken. I had to look. So again, he's making shade under $1 million. I think they can maybe bump that up to 1.5.
1.5 is what I was thinking.
1.2 to 1.5 is the number I had in my mind. Thinking maybe give him like a 2 year, $3 million deal. You know, 1.5 each. You know, or $2.7 million. I don't know. I think they give him a little bit more incentive to like, hey, love you here, love to have you stay here. Hey, I mean, I love to make, but then it's almost like, what kind of money are you going to get starting somewhere, especially with the skill set? You're making a cool $1.5 million sitting on the bench behind Lamar. I would take that job in a heartbeat over my job right now.
But I think he's tied to the hip with Lamar Jackson.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah,
if if Lamar signs a big contract with Baltimore,
you got to almost retain him.
Yeah, you have to keep Tyler Huntley there, and I think maybe you're telling Lamar that like we can't pay you that extra $1 million as a guaranteed money because we needed to pay Tyler Huntley.
So tough, man.
Yeah.
I mean, it's tough. I hate to be in that position, but Lamar's unique, and they drafted him for a reason, and the Ravens believe in it, and they're it's a live and die by it, man.
Yeah.
It's theirs to do, and we're along for the ride, I guess, right?
That's right. Now we have less than a week till the next Ravens game. It's actually on a Saturday. It's back in Baltimore. It's up against the Washington Commanders. Battle of the Beltway, I guess you can call it. But they're going to be up at the bank. We did have one injury in this game in Arizona. Travis Jones did have a knee injury. It was a hyperextension type of situation, but he won't be playing. They said that he shouldn't be out an extended period of time, which is good. So in this last preseason game, we know Isaiah Likely has kind of made his claim for that starting job. Is there any other roster spot out there that you're going to be watching in this last game that's kind of undecided? Is there anybody that you're really hoping shows off that can solidify their spot for week 1?
Man, I mean, from what I've seen, they're so deep at safety and running back. It's almost like who's to leave out. I mean, I know they just drafted Tyler Batty, but it's like I'm going to talk about Justice Hill.
They don't call him Batty on TV.
Is it Beatty?
They call him Beatty. I'm calling him Batty because that's better.
It is.
Yeah.
If we're mispronouncing your name, buddy, we apologize. Batty.
They call him Beatty, but
Batty, tomato. I think Justice Hill.
Yeah.
I don't know if he has a roster spot. From what I've seen in the preseason, it's like every time he runs, he just gets stuffed, and I'm like, bro. Now with the running back committee, now with drafting Tyler, you have Dobbins coming back. Now Dobbins was supposed to be ready for week 1. He might not be. Now Gus Edwards, and that's the problem. Well, that's what I'm saying. I don't think Justice Hill would have a roster spot here if everybody's healthy. With the other side of this coin, with Dobbins might not be ready for week 1.
Right.
Gus Edwards certainly isn't. What do you do there?
Yeah.
But now they brought in Mike Davis, so I feel like Mike Davis would be in line to start, kind of taking that Latavius Murray role from last year. Then you maybe keep Batty at 3, Justice Hill at 2, and then when the guys come back healthy, Justice Hill gets cut with a roster spot.
Yeah.
But as far as making the 53 roster, I think Hill, for the sake of that, might, because I think they have to carry 5 running backs on the roster, especially with the other
5.
They have to. Well, you think about it. Or what are you going to do? Put one on the practice squad and call him up?
Right.
Also, I just feel like, that's why I really want to focus on the running game. It's more like, what running backs have shown good success, what running backs have played themselves in a starting role here, or even made a roster spot in the case. But then, what are they going to roll into the season with injury questions right now? I haven't been impressed with Justice Hill in the preseason at all.
Yeah.
Even just pulling up, some of the stats over the last 2 games, I just haven't been impressed. Justice Hill had 5 carries, 5 yards, 5 attempts for 5 yards, yard a carry. Mike Davis had 6 for 18. Batty led him in rushing, 12 for 34, 2.8. Mike Davis had 3 yards per carry, 6 of 18.
Mike Davis also fan of Ranch.
I was hoping you didn't bring that up. Come on, man. I'm with my man.
He knows what's
blue
up.
Cheese, man.
He knows what's up.
I know, but I got you pizza tonight. You're like, I said, you like pizza? You're like anything but blue cheese. And I actually look at the sauce. I should have done this to surprise you, and I didn't. But they actually, for like the buffalo ones, they had like buffalo sauce. You could have put ranch sauce on the pizza. I was like, I could have gotten half regular and half ranch and gave you the ranch side and be like, what's this? And like, that's for your fan of being ranch. You got ranch pizza, but I didn't know how ranch pizza would taste. I didn't want to waste it, so I almost did that on purpose. But man, this blue cheese and ranch debate won't go away.
Now we gotta find a like our favorite wing place, and we gotta do like a taste test there on the show or something.
Have to. But as far as receiving, like I look at it this way. There's gonna be only so much depth concerns you can talk about, but before we can get that, did the Ravens release any players? I saw you saw the update.
Yeah. Let me find that real quick. I believe they're getting down to 80. If
they had to cut it down a little bit.
They cut Jalen Moore.
Good. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'd say good, but that's who I wanted to talk about.
Yeah.
Pretty much going to talk about Tylan Wallace. No, I'm hoping they have a spot for him, but I just don't see where it could fit in. I mean, what do you think on that? Where do you take someone who they might keep or who you might see emerge? I mean,
at wide receiver,
or at least for any position.
Yeah,
defense included.
I'm kind of intrigued of what they're going to do with a guy like Chuck Clark, because
I didn't think about that.
Yeah, we don't know what we're going to do with him. He's a great talent, but I'm sure with Kyle Hamilton coming in at your number 1 draft pick, when he got drafted, I'm sure Chuck Clark was kind of like, hey, you remember me? Got plans, or what are we doing here? Because he's been around the team for a while. He's been a real leader, and new guy came in. Is Kyle Hamilton going to be enough to replace a guy like Chuck Clark?
Well, I'm sort of trying you went with the safety and defense because they're going to be so deep at safety they're going to have to make cuts.
Yeah,
I brought Tylan Wallace for a reason because of the newest addition, Demarcus Robinson. If they're bringing in a receiver of that caliber, when I say caliber, free agent. I mean, someone's on the odd man out. Now they've discarded Jalen Moore,
right,
or more cuts on the rise with the receiving core to make room because it's kind of like, look, if they're bringing in somebody already, that screams terror for the current receivers right now on the team trying to make the team because it's like, dude, just brought in this new guy who hasn't proven himself on the team,
right?
And I'm trying to make a roster spot and prove a point. So, I feel for these guys. So that's why I'm saying, like, with a Tylan Wallace and where the depth chart lies, I'm interested to see. I'm pulling up an updated depth chart now for the Ravens to see where they lie in that respects. But I feel like right now, Tylan Wallace could be a man unless they have a spot for him on special teams. Would be interesting to see how that plays out. Because right now, who's going to be the kick returner?
Right.
Is kind of like my question. Because I know Devin Duvernay was kind of filling in that void last year, but now he's listed at number 2 wide receiver in the depth chart. So you're going to have your number 2 out there returning kicks? I don't think so.
Who was the guy besides Isaiah Likely in week 1 that really impressed us? Because I think he could be a guy who could work on special teams.
Oh, Bridges. Smart Bridges.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
He caught a touchdown. Yeah.
Yeah. I think he could be a guy that could return, could be a punt returner in some way. I think he's got some wheels on him. He could definitely be somebody that maybe stays on this roster. You don't see him very much on offense. He's more of a special teamer to kind of show his worth a little bit.
I'm looking at the updated depth chart. I wanted to go over that. So, yeah, they got to keep. Prochet could be returning kicks. Tylan Wallace and Prochet are 3rd and 4th on the depth chart. So Jalen Moore was already released. Webb caught a touchdown. Raleigh Webb caught a touchdown for him in the preseason. So, and again, preseason touchdowns, I don't feel like translate automatically to, you got to keep them on the roster, right? It's good because obviously they show up in the stat column. Their name is called. But you look at it, Shamar Bridges is all the way down on the 4th slot in the depth chart.
Yeah.
So, again, when they bring in Demarcus Robinson, no one really knows, and that's what the funny thing. The news broke. It was so quiet. I didn't even know about it. Mr. I cover everything. I didn't know about it.
Heard it from Jimmy's.
I heard from that, but I heard it from my group text. My group text is like, we got a retread from Chiefs. I'm like, who? And look, they're like, we have some new blood. I'm like, I didn't even know who you're talking about. Now look, and I'm like, and it was weird. I didn't get a notification. Usually I get notifications for like the I said, that was so quiet. I didn't even know you were looking at him, let alone signing him.
Right.
So I haven't heard anything on Ravens brass on what the plans are for that. So what position is he playing? Slot? And that's what I'm saying. It adds a wrinkle into the receiving core because Shamar Bridges' name was called in week 1. I didn't hear much last night. Not even at all.
Yeah, I didn't at all.
So I'm saying it's hit or miss. So it's like, who's going to be odd man out? Now with Jalen Moore being released, Tylan Wallace is next on shot block, in my opinion. So it's like, these guys got to play. If you look at the stat line from the first preseason game to this preseason game against Cardinals, I'm going to say, here's your leading receiver was Likely. The next leading receiver was Webb, who caught 2 balls, and one of them was a touchdown, 38-yard touchdown.
Right.
The game plan yesterday was it was interesting. Bridges had 1 catch for 8 against the Cardinals. Name was called once. So for some guy who's shown great flashes in the first preseason game, barely was on the stat sheet.
Yeah.
Webb, caught 2 balls. I mean, but there's a lot of other guys that caught 1 ball apiece. One guy caught 2. Batty caught 2 balls out of the backfield. Patrick Ricard got in the mix with a catch for a yard. Nick Boyle caught 2 catches for 0 yards. So, I don't know. I mean, Isaiah Likely being the leading receiver, in the scheme last night. I just don't know. I mean, the running attack, was more. It was kind of balanced. I mean, but you look at the Ravens and how this game plan flowed. The Ravens between the two quarterbacks only threw it for 27 times. They had 27 attempts in passing the whole game. Huntley had 13 attempts, and Huntley had 14 attempts. Brown had 13 attempts. So you look at it that way, and Batty had 12. Mike Davis had 6 attempts rushing. McCray had 1. Tyler Huntley 2. And Justice Hill 5. So right there, it was kind of a balanced attack.
Right.
But you didn't have a good sample. See, last night was frustrating because you didn't have a good sample size of, other than likely dominating, no one was the star. No one was like,
standout, yeah.
Like Bridges wasn't even included, fell off the map. So it's like bringing in a Robinson already kind of puts Dylan Wallace and Shamar Bridges on chopping block already immediately.
Yeah.
Because now you roll with, but then it's like who you was. I don't know. I feel like they roll with Bateman, Duvernay, Demarcus Robinson, James Prochet, maybe one other one. Maybe, if you're lucky.
Right.
Maybe 5 on the roster. When it comes to roster cuts, it's really hard because, again, you got 53. What's the right amount of depth? They got problems at safety. Good problem because they have too many of them.
Yeah.
Who gets cut there? But speaking of safety, got to give it up 2 weeks in a row. Kyle Hamilton making plays.
Yeah.
First game, recovering fumble. This game, big old pulls in the air, man. Goal line stand, deflecting a pass. He got hops.
Yeah.
That was impressive.
That's what you want to see.
First round pick, man.
First round
showing.
Pick. Yeah.
And I'm hoping his other counterpart in the first round, Tyler Lindenbaum, heals up quickly because I can't wait to see what he can do. But Kyle Hamilton, man, the dude showing up, making plays, dude.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, this has been a good preseason. The Ravens have some good issues, good problems.
I feel like defensively, you got to be impressed.
Yeah.
Turnover right off the bat for the Ravens with the pick. They had another one, if my memory serves correctly, with the highlights. So it's like, they're already forcing turnovers in these games, which is definitely something you love to see.
I love to see, just not even talking about the games. You look at some of the training camp videos and some of the stuff they put out on YouTube. I absolutely love the with Rashad Bateman versus Marlon Humphrey. The two of them going against each other is only going to bring out the best in both. So you see those two guys kind of lining up against each other. They're bringing it. During practice, they're definitely making each other make some moves, and I love to see it. It's a competition between these two guys. They're competitive. I want that.
Absolutely, man. Me too. And the thing I've always said about Ravens, they've always been known for one of their top defensive units in the NFL. We even talked about, stretching back to the year 2000 with the offense, like that Ravens Super Bowl offense, even though they weren't like lighting the world on fire, they had to practice against that championship caliber defense every day in practice.
Yeah.
That was awesome. That record-setting defense, imagine Charlotte Duffer and the offense got to go to work against that in practice.
Yeah.
That should make anybody better. And they have to go to the likes of Marlon Humphrey, Marcus Williams, Marcus Peters. These guys, dude, come on, man. It's got to make you that much better. And I love the fact that you have Bateman and Humphrey going to battle every day in practice and fighting. It's just, again, iron sharpens iron, man, and making everybody better all around. I can't wait. Another guy that's shown. How about our punter, who apparently supposedly caught a ghost touchdown, didn't even know it.
He did.
By the way,
it's amazing.
Intriguing. 2 number 11s on the squad.
Yeah, I had realized that, yeah.
I thought that wasn't supposed to happen. I guess it can. I don't know.
I guess preseason, all bets are off.
Yeah, but apparently it was Riley Webb and not Jordan Stout. It was funny. They put up the graphic. Even the announcer called Riley Webb for the touchdown, and they threw up the graphic Jordan Stout because I guess they saw 11.
Yeah.
And Jordan Stout tweeted out. I saw that. He was kind of like, hey, what's going on there? How'd that happen? Or whatever he said. It was pretty funny and comical. But he booted a punt last night. It was awesome. Inside the 5. I was very impressed so far what I've seen out of him in that second preseason game.
Yeah.
I'd like to see a little bit more. I know he's on the kickoffs now, alleviating some of that work from JT. JT looked at midseason form. Going over the special teams, I've alluded to that where when you saw the Cardinals kicker miss a 50-yard field goal, I said it last night on Twitter, man. It's like, what shows you the greatness of JT, how hard it is. JT makes 50-plus yard field goals routinely like it's nothing. Like, 50-yarder, he's got this. Like, It's kind of like you can get up from your seat and go take a break. Like, you already know it's in the bag. And these kickers, it's indoors in Glendale, Arizona, in the Cardinal Stadium, he's missing them. And it shows you the greatness of how hard it probably really is and how great JT really is. And to have him on this team and the contract he just got and, it could be a first ballot Hall of Famer talent all the way around as a kicker.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see, man, and fascinating. But JT out there making field goals in the preseason. You got Tyler Batty with a touchdown. From Brown. I really love what the team with putting together, and it'd be interesting to see what comes with the final 53 men. But right now, it's not like there's no surprises to me. I feel like who I see emerging. I mean, I didn't call Isaiah Likely by any stretch that means, but again, going back, he was one of the names I definitely wanted to look out for. I'm like, I had a feeling these tight ends were going to pan out, and they definitely hit the jackpot with Isaiah Likely. Right now, as it stands, stand out of the preseason by far.
Yeah,
big time.
Absolutely. This is very much Isaiah Likely's preseason. It's all eyes on him at this moment, and he's definitely shown up, and I'm very happy that we got him to be a Raven. So we'll see what happens. Week 3, Ravens versus Commanders. Josh, have we covered everything for this episode of the call?
Not quite.
No, we got
Not
more.
Quite.
All right, what else we got?
But wait, there's more. Kind of just want to set the stage for the Commanders game. Second game in M&T Bank. Not really a preview. I just more or less, it's just going to be your final look. It's a dress rehearsal. Don't expect any starters, if any, to play. If not, you might see a few. I did see.
There's usually like one veteran.
I did see Oweh play. I mean, I must call Oweh a veteran, but he's a starter. But he played. He started in last night's game. He had some pressures. The pressure led to that interception. If you really watch out. But I really wanted, before we get to Commanders, I want to cover one thing. I want to go back to the Cardinals game before I touch on the Commanders. Before we get out of here, is I didn't like how the game started with Stevens with that penalty uncalled for, that unnecessary roughness out of the gate, shoving the player.
Yeah,
like it wasn't a bad shove, but it was kind of like it was extracurricular. He was already out of bounds. He just gave him that extra oomph, just enough to draw a flag. And I'm like, that's the sloppiness shenanigans we do not need. At all. You need to be sharp and disciplined.
Agreed.
Giving them free yards. Now, of course, it led to the interception. Didn't really mean anything. Ravens picked them off. Went down to kick 3. They held a 3-0 lead for late into the second. They kept them at bay. It could have been a tone setter for the game, because that kind of shenanigans against a starting caliber offense, give them 15 yards. What if that's against Denver and Russell Wilson's offense? What if that's against Bills and Josh Allen? They're going to eat that up.
Yeah.
You can't do that. That's the frustrating part about how it started last night, but I do give the Ravens credit with composure. Apart from that, I didn't see any silly penalties that we all saw. I didn't see, as far as week 1 concerned, where they had the holding penalties where it was 3rd and short, down the go, and they got the first down, but it was called back for a holding penalty. Then they missed it and had to punt the next down. It was more like, they got to cut down on those kind of things. So apart from that penalty, how it started, I certainly want to commend on the Ravens, and really putting that behind them, and Stevens making that uncharacteristic mistake. Can't have that.
I want to say this is the nicest way possible. This game against Arizona was kind of boring, and in the preseason,
I can be on that. I mean, it was 3-0, 3-0 halfway through the second, pretty much.
Yeah,
you're right. It was like, but
you want that. You don't want like, oh my god, horrific injury. Oh my god, what a dumb penalty. Like,
hey, if the best, or say the best thing about this game was Isaiah Likely's name being called a lot.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The last thing you want is some earth-shattering news that something crazy happened. And again, we understand the Davis situation. We hope everything's good there, and with these injuries, and luckily it's not a serious injury.
Yeah,
they're going to happen. And people were, of course, blowing it up. What? It's in the 4th quarter. What'd they doing? Leaving them in the game. Guys, I love it when we're all entitled to their opinions, but they're the coaches.
Yeah,
you left them in there. They get paid. They'll answer to it. I can't control it.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that's why Dobbins was in a preseason game last year, and then he got hurt. Obviously, they learned from that. He's not one now, so live and learn. They probably want him in there for evaluation. They probably want him in there because maybe they didn't have any bodies left. I don't know. Again, got to play somebody. Jeff Zariba covers the Ravens for The Athletic, and I think he got on somebody in the replies on that very notion. Someone was chirping that they left somebody in the game, I think in the first preseason game, and Jeff's like, well, they just sat half the squad. They have 80. I mean, they got to make roster cuts, but you count all the starters are sitting. There's probably 20 guys sitting. They got to play somebody.
Right.
Just, and injuries are part of the game. It ain't like, you don't want it to happen to anybody, but do you want your starters out there getting hurt, or do you want the 4th string or 3rd string rookies? I don't know. Pick somebody. But to chirp at somebody, why they leave them in the game? Well, maybe come to think they have no players left. It's the fourth quarter of a preseason game. Maybe they took everybody else out. They played last night with 2 quarterbacks.
Right.
I mean, what are you going to do? So, again, we could be all mad all we want, but we don't know what decisions went into that. So let's all reserve judgment. I mean, opinions are opinions, but, my gosh, think a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, there's a reason why they probably have him in there. Should you think about that for a minute? Whether we like it or not, it's a different story. But, you know, hey, they're not – the Ravens personally aren't making a decision to please us. I tell you that right now.
Yeah.
They're going to do what's best interest of the team in their preseason. They're evaluating talent. People are trying to make roster spots, make a team, job auditions, etc. But looking ahead at the Commanders game, more of the same. Final auditions for jobs, roster cuts. Same game plan. Don't expect any starters to sniff.
Yeah.
You might see a little bit of starters on the Commanders side. I know Carson Wentz is playing against the Chiefs. Speaking of that, I thought it was very interesting how each team handles things differently. Watched a little bit of the Commanders-Chiefs preseason game over the weekend. Travis Kelce and Patrick Mahomes were playing in that game.
Yeah.
So for all the people that chirp that, you know, Ravens starters should never sniff, remember, why don't you go chirp at the Chiefs for playing their starters? Because
Right.
they can get hurt.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes is worth more than Lamar. You know, I don't see you guys getting upset about Pat. And again, we're Ravens fans. We cover the Ravens, not Chiefs, but I'm saying to have the same energy. I don't see you on your Twitters or Facebooks flipping out about the Chiefs starting their top 2 stars pretty much on offense.
Right.
I don't know why that is. I don't think Patrick Mahomes needs practice, nor does Travis Kelce.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
why are they out there? I have no idea why Andy Reid's playing them, but there's a reason why Lamar's sitting and Patrick Mahomes isn't. So maybe it's because the Ravens don't want them to get hurt. Maybe because, I would never say this, but maybe because Lamar don't need the practice. Ooh, I just said that on a podcast that maybe Patrick Mahomes needs the practice over Lamar. Oh, my God, you just did that. He's a Super Bowl appearance, and he's got a Super Bowl ring. Don't care. Why are they out there?
Yeah.
Because they don't need practice. It's Patrick freaking Mahomes, man. Like, I don't know. It's just, but I thought that was very intriguing to me. I caught that and I went, "What?
Yeah.
They're playing who?" I saw Kelce make a pass. I'm like, "Is this live?" Like, I thought it was like a game from like a year ago. I'm like, but now I realized it was Carson Wentz Commanders. I was like, "Yo."
Yeah.
So I don't know if you caught that. It was very intriguing to me why and again, I would like to go maybe find out why. Hopefully somewhere on the Chiefs had some info, but I want to know why Mahomes and Kelce were playing in the preseason game and the Ravens aren't playing any starters. Maybe because they learned their lesson from Dobbins. They're like, this ain't happening again.
Right.
They're too scared to, which I get. After that, no one should be sniffing because look what happened. It started a domino effect. But again, it can happen. But injuries are going to happen. Knock on wood. Let's have some meaningful games, shall we?
Yeah.
I'd rather have it at that. If it's going to happen, it's fate. By design, hopefully it's a violent game. We get it, but I would love to. I mean, did you even think about that? Like, I don't know if you knew that, but
Yeah,
makes you
I
think,
didn't realize that.
Why is Mahomes and Kelce playing the preseason game against the Commanders? They don't need work.
Yeah.
It was a home game for the
Well,
Chiefs.
it's against the Commanders. There was no fear of them getting hit.
Right. Oh, maybe you should throw out Lamar in this one. Then. No, don't. But no, more of the same in the Commanders. Final game at M&T Bank until they play the Dolphins in the season opener in Week 2 at home. Home opener, I should say, against the Dolphins. And it's pretty much certainly wanted to get out of here from making those 2 points. And, again, I'd like to hear your thoughts on, who you might to see if there's some names I didn't call out, who might make the team, who might not, who might emerge in the final preseason game under the lights in M&T on Saturday night. I'd like to get your take on it, and I know you'll be there too watching along with me.
Yep.
It'd be great to hopefully we can link up. We'll see how that works out.
Yep.
Maybe call live on location at halftime. We'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
But,
I don't have as good as an accent as the guy you interviewed last time.
Dave Rivers. Oh yeah, man. You got to put on your best British accent, man. Come on.
I think I'd offend him.
Oh, come on. I can't do it.
Yeah.
I would butcher it.
You take a spot of tea.
Here we go. Reminds me of the Friends episode in London.
Exactly.
In London.
In London.
Got it. You'd be like Joey and stepping on the map.
Right.
I'm here.
Yeah.
That was great.
Oh, you made me lose it.
Oh, boy.
All right, so is that it? Is that the show?
Well, it's in a foreign country. It doesn't count, right? So, like the Jaguars game, the loss didn't count.
That's the way I like to see it.
I mean, Friends said that, right?
Yeah.
It was when in the same zip code.
Yeah.
When in the same country.
Even if you're
Didn't
still in
count.
London time, doesn't
Yeah,
count.
that's right.
Yeah.
If you're in London time, we're still in London time.
Yeah.
I love Friends. This is why we're friends.
That's right.
Love it.
All right, so is that it this time around for this episode of The Call?
Calling me out.
Yeah.
Quote the Raven, never mow.
All right. Well, if that is it for the conversation this week, if you guys want to continue the conversation for this week, make sure you tweet to either one of us. You can tweet to me at Brando Cash. Josh, where can people tweet to you at?
Always Italian GQ52.
Now you can go over to our Facebook page, facebook.com/The Call Podcast. Like us over there. Whenever a new show comes out, you'll be the first to know, and you can listen to the show right there over on our Facebook page. Now we do this show for free. You listen, stream, and download for free on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Player.fm, Overcast, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Facebook, and YouTube. All we ask in return is for you to please spread the word about the show. Write us an Apple Podcast review, rate us over on Spotify, and let people know on Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and Pinterest and Instagram and Reddit and Snapchat and Twitch and TikTok and Discord. Let everybody know I'm a Baltimore Ravens fan. I listen to The Call, and you should too. So that is pretty much it for the show this week. We got a short week coming up. The Commanders at the bank on Saturday night. Josh, take us out the way you always do.
Absolutely, brother. And this time next week, we'll be putting the preseason behind us and getting ready for the New York Jets.
The Jets.
The
Joe
Jets.
Flacco's Jets.
That's going to be a fun one to preview. First time ever that Joe is going to be facing his former. It's going to be fun.
Isn't
and I can't wait
it also
to get there.
kind of weird that we brought that up a week before
It actually happened.
it actually happened? It is
Like
as
you
if
said, they listened to the call.
the NFL must listen to
Yeah.
the call and realize,
Secretly.
yeah, this is
They
what's
love
up.
us. They just won't. They won't announce it. That's where they get all their insight. See, that's where all the NFL insiders get all their info. But when they always say my sources, well, he must be the
It's us.
source. Yeah, they just don't want to say it. They don't want to give us too much credit, man. They go to our heads.
That's right.
Like, oh yeah, Ian Rappaport gets his info from the call.
The call.
Nah, man, I'm just excited, man. I mean, preseason streak or not, man, I just hope the Ravens keep the winning contagious and roll it to the regular season and keep everybody healthy. I hope that the final 53 is going to be set and it's going to be the best 53 roster they can put out there. And, it's going to be great to see the auditions and see who emerges and see if Isaiah Likely can put a hat trick on his record in 3 for 3 on the preseason and just solidify even more why he should be a Raven and don't fall back a little bit. And, for these Ravens making the rosters, I hope they shine. I hope everybody's success. And unfortunately, not everybody can make the roster. There's going to be some cuts. But I'm looking forward to soon he can emerge and want these guys to get healthy. Ron Stanley, Litterbaum included, Davis to get healthy, and hopefully, nothing's major out there, hindrance. You want Gus Edwards and Dobbins to really heal quickly and get ready, whether one of them's ready for week 1 or not. We just hope I just want to see how the running game emerges. I want to see the running game do better. I want everybody to really just go at it hard, not too hard on Saturday night. Don't want the injuries to pile up or anything to happen, but I just want to get this over with. We all want to get it over with. Season's fast approaching. Everybody's having their fantasy drafts. It's here. We're gearing up. Week 3 of the preseason is upon us, and with the final week, man. And then this is it. Then we get ready for the long grind of 17 games all the way to the postseason, and starts on the road, and we're going to be all here for it. So with that being said, buckle up. M&T Bank Stadium, preseason week 3 is upon us. Let's get out of here. Maybe with a 23rd straight win. If not, meh. But we'll see. But still want them to win. It's fun. And I want the bragging rights. I don't know. Just love it. It's fun. With that being said, Baltimore Ravens against the newly minted Commanders. So weird. Even though I do like their uniforms, by the way. I'm one of the few. I thought they were pretty cool. I don't know. Here's what it is.
Not bad.
It's still Washington W, and it's still a dump in FedEx. You've been there. I haven't, but I heard it's
Terrible place.
That's why I'm glad it's at M&T. Because everybody's like, you're going to game. I'm like, tell you what, if it was in Washington, I wouldn't be.
Yeah.
Tell you that. That might be the only road game I never go on. Let's get a new stadium. Because you've experienced it for me, and that's enough for me.
Yeah.
Right there.
Yeah.
But that being said, me and Brandon at the call at M&T Banks, the call on location at the game. It's going to be fun, man. Can't wait. Baltimore Ravens, let's fly high.
This has been a production of Brando Cash Entertainment. Music by Brad Lepore and Daniel Kelly from the DBK Studio. For more information, go to brandocash.com.